This is Laura, author Lorelai on Amazon and socials. This is part 2 of the poetry prompt video. I would have loved to take you to the park again, but it is pretty smoky outside from wildfire smoke. So, what we were going to do today was, I guess we could do another poetry writing sprint together, but I wanted to show you the end of my work process last time and what I turned it into. It's not a finished poem, but I like videos where people teach me about their process in a really transparent way, so that's what I'm trying to do for you. So you can do whatever you like. Use this as background music, I don't care, but that's the goal. I hope it's valuable to you. So the last video cut off because it got really long, but I was going over the notes that I took in the park, looking at the physical layer of what I was observing, a second layer of people or movement, something, I guess it's physical, but it's more about what's changing, what's moving, rather than just sensory perceptions. There's an emotional layer, a consciousness or spirit layer, and then I focused on a moment of change, which if you remember or you want to go back to part 1, that's what the prompt from Francine Harris from Bear River Conference was about. Basically going outside and taking down notes on sensory perceptions of what you're experiencing, and then taking a sudden change in direction and then noting experiences after that. And then you actually fill it in later and decide what you want to focus on to create a poem. So for this use of the prompt, I noticed in the physical layer, it was super hot. Let's see, where it cut off was still in the physical layer. I noticed that you don't really appreciate the wind on your neck until you can't sweat enough. It was like super humid. And I was also talking a little bit about how I noticed the other day, after watching a video about like a UFO conspiracy or something, that it made me more prone to expect to see something in the sky where I'd never actually thought about that before. So I may go back and look at the element of like, we see what we expect. Second layer, people and movement. I noticed that a man down the hill was watching me, and a man up the hill emptying his minivan, which I probably won't use. I just wrote it down because it was part of the landscape. But speaking of, it's not a pleasant experience most of the time for me to be stared at. It's nice for people to think you're pretty, but like, I've been low-key stalked a few times before. So I would only use that in a poem if I wanted to evoke the experience of negatively being stared at or watched or sussed or monitored or something. Because I'm trying to remind myself that not all poems have to be beautiful or peaceful or happy or contemplative. Some of them are just ripping your heart out and bleeding on the page. I wrote, pity the fool running a festival in this heat, because I noticed there was like a party or a daycare or some sort of corporate festival going on down the hill, people with all the same color shirt, and they roped off an area, and I thought it was kind of sad that like there was nobody there, it's too hot. Probably won't use that though. And then I noticed one pedestrian, the one party, and one Vespa carrying a man uphill, which is more of a concrete detail to illustrate how empty the park is. And one of the things I'm trying to learn in my own poetry, shifting from being a journalist to a more narrative journalism and a more poetic or fantastical, dramatic type writing, is I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I'm trying to get away from the habit of interpreting or summarizing things. That doesn't make for very good poetry. And so I might use the one person, one party, etc. as like an illustration of how empty the park is because of the heat without saying it. I probably would say it, and then I have to go back and cut it. Emotional layer. I noticed that I needed to slow down from my sort of normal jitters to match the pace of the place in order to really enjoy it. I heard seagulls screaming, which for some reason felt emotional to me, but it probably wasn't. Spirit or consciousness layer. I had the thought trees are sentries because they were watching over the park. I saw a hawk circling, and I had this thought that consciousness or the spiritual layer of reality is everything. It's not religious, not just religious. And then I emphasized a moment of change, so I would remember that that was part of the exercise. So my moment of change was daring to move the slowest in the park and to ground and not rush. And then it just kind of, I heard clairaudiently, no rushing and hiding in this dress under the steamy heat dome. So I probably won't use that, it's a little bit purple, but it gives me the tone of what I was intending to do. So I will be back in part 3, so this doesn't get too long. Read you the poem and we can do another sprint together.